Hello my dear Dissecting students. Today's video is all about dissecting C# function. This is not just for my students but also for those viewers that would like to learn C# programming. Okay, so let's get started.
Live life golden, yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. Yeah.
Alright, so welcome back. Now, let's suppose we have here a simple function or method. Okay, so this one right here, let me get my laser. This one right here is the access type. Okay, so that means we can choose from public or private. Now if you don't have public nor private here, that means by default that is a private. Okay, this one also right here is our variable type. Okay, so static means this is a kind of class variables. Okay, so that means this function can be accessed to any class within your program, okay, within your project. Okay, so this one also right here is our void, our return type. So that if you have here void, that means it doesn't need the compiler will not expect something to return. Okay, so what are those return type? We have string, integer, boolean, and other objects. So for example, objects from your MySQL data, like that. Okay, so if you're putting something aside from void, that means your compiler will expect something to return. Okay, and then this one is our variable name. Whatever name you want to put, it's okay, but make it sure that your name is relevant to the function that you are going to make. Okay, alright, so we are now here in our C#. Now let's create a new project for this one. Syntax. Okay, so first that was the access type, right? Access type. Next would be the variable type. Let's say public, static, void, and then my return type is void, my variable type is static, and then my variable name is my function. Okay, again, do not forget to complete first the syntax before you will go back inside and put something into it. Now, okay, this is the access type, variable type, and then the return type. This means since this is in public, I can access this function, which is my function, through another classes. Now let's try to add another class. Let's name this another class. Very unique. So this is another class inside our dissecting function. Alright, so here inside our another class, say we want to create a function right here, which is the return type is void, and then let's name this function from add class. Okay, now inside this function I can actually access this public my function from the program class. Okay, just call the program class and then that, and then you have your my function right here. See, so we can actually use objects or functions from other classes if our access type is public, and also our variable type is static. Okay, because if we are not using static, this means this function is not for for classes, not accessible for other classes. Okay, so if you look at here, the my function is not showing right here. Okay? It's because though we are declaring it as public, but our variable type is not static. A while ago, it's not being set for class variables. Okay, so by doing that, we can access from other classes. Now, not just for functions. If you have public static, okay, so if you want to access that, number one is accessible already. Right? It says an error because you're not using it. If we have it in x is equals to program number one, it will satisfy the statement, because if you're just writing this one, if you're just writing program number one, this part is hanging because it returns an integer, so you're not using it. So if you want to use this one, into x is equals to that one, that means whatever value here in our number one also be passed to this variable x. Okay, what is the use anyway of the functions and methods? They are very useful, especially if you're developing a system, because instead of writing same codes, you'll just have to reuse it using functions, right? Let's say for example this one right here. No, I'm not going to delete that. Let's say for example this one. This my function right here is going to print only hello, and then don't forget to put some read line, right? So hello. So instead of writing down hello for many times, you can just actually call the my function again. Okay, so no need to write all of this stuff because it is being written inside your function, and if you are going to run this one, expect that you're having hello 4 times. Okay, so that is just for normal function. For void, that is for the void functions. The return type is void. Now how about a function that returns something? So say for example we have public static int num1. So this num1 right here expects a return because you are using integer. Now if integer is your return type right here, you have also to return something that is integer, 0 or 1 or any integer, or even a value from a variable. So for example, you have a variable right here, variable x, that has a value of 8, so you can also pass this one the x. So every time you are calling num1, it returns a value of x. What is that, sir? Okay, so let me show you something. Also, we need to create a printing function that prints whatever you would like. Let's say for example, I have here public static void print, or to make it short, P. Alright, so this P right here, I want to overload some variable, your message. Okay, you want to overload some variable. Now I'm going to copy this one, paste it right here. Now instead of this is very static, instead of writing directly your message, I'm gonna pass what's inside my message string. Alright, so whenever I call the P function, it requires something to put inside. Okay, let's say for example I want to put yay. So this means that this yay right here is being passed to your message, and this message is being written inside your right line statement. Okay, let's try this one. I'm gonna run this. See, so also we can we can pass a function that has a return inside our print function. So for example, I want to return the num1 function, so I'm just going to call on num1. If this is a function, that means you have to end this with open close parentheses. Okay, now so why I am getting this error? Because this message, this function P only this function P has string message, so this is not a string because this is an integer, right? So what should we do? There are lots of ways to kill a cat. Okay, so we can just concatenate this one. We can just add plus and then double quote. So this num1 right here, this integer is being converted into a string because we are concatenating it by double quote. Okay, so let's try to run this one. Alright, so we have here number 8. Okay, this is very neat because you are just typing in this one. This is a good example of declarative paradigm, because you are not showing how did you come up with this one, because it is hidden inside our function right here, or our method that has a function of writing a message. Okay, so this is the difference also between having an overload and having nothing. Okay, so this means if you have something inside your parentheses, you are required to input something like this. It will get some error, right? Because you are required to input something. It should be in string. Okay, but this my function right here doesn't need any overload. That is why it's not getting an error. But if you put something, though it's not asking, it will get some error. It will say no overload for method my function. Okay, because you are not really putting some overload right here. So just use the function that is useful for a certain situation. Please share this one to your friends that are taking up programming. Okay, so for also you can suggest any topics. You can actually suggest, but I'm gonna tell you that I'm just going to make a video every weekend. Okay, so I hope you get something for this video, and props to those two groups that already have their channel and video with regards imperative and declarative paradigm. Okay, so I understand that you don't have any example for the functions for the declarative paradigm. It's because you're just taking up the object-oriented programming, right? So I think that's it for now. Goodbye.